Break the wheel. Make it stop.
Hello again, gentle viewers, and welcome once again to The Broken Wheel. In this episode, we'll be looking at Episode 3 of Season 2, titled, What Might Be. As we continue to see more of the Sanchan, I will be introducing terms they use and explaining their meanings to add context. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. But with all that said, let our journey begin again. We rejoin Nyneave at the arches that are used to perform the test for one to be raised from novice to accepted. Shiriam and Liana explain the risks and rules of the test.
It will bring you face to face with your greatest fears, and what those fears are for you to know. And you need to tell no more than you wish.
So, what, I just walk through one arch and out again? 3 times through and it's done?
If you wish to boil it down that far. Yes.
2 things we will tell you now that no woman hears until she's in this room. The first, once you begin, you must continue to the end. Refuse to go on, and you will be put out of the tower with enough silver to support you for a year, but you will never be allowed back.
Second, to seek, to strive, is to know danger, and you will know danger here. Some women have entered and never come out.
This is your last chance, child. You may turn back now, right now, and you will only have 1 mark against you. Twice more you'll be allowed to come here, and only on the 3rd refusal will you be put out of the tower.
The simplest way I can explain the test is that the woman will face her fears of the past, present, and future. She must not only overcome them, but leave behind the bonds that caused them, so that she can commit herself completely to the Aes Sedai. She also has to do it in her shift. Why, I don't know.
Whatever awaits you, you must face it with nothing but your wits. Not even the one power will be available to you inside the arches.
Stepping through the first arch, Nyneave finds herself back in the 2 rivers. Her hair is loose, and she is holding a bunch of bloodthorn root. A man comes up to her that we find is Nyneave's father. He is alarmed that she is holding bloodthorn and immediately takes her to a stream to wash her hands clean of any poison. Nyneave is disoriented to see her father, who has been dead for many years. She tries to remember how she got here, but can't. Looking at her reflection in the water, we see Nyneave as a child, letting us know that this is the past. Strange men appear out of the forest and attack Nyneave and her father. These men run the 2 of them down, and Nyneave is wounded by one in her right shoulder. Nyneave's mother saves them by killing the 2 men with her bow. More raiders come and chase the family back to their home. Nyneave's father takes Nyneave into a hidden cellar and tells her to stay there and be quiet. He then recites the same sentence in the old tongue that she recited to Lan in Season 1.
Yendan, atha anchuria marath, aliende nesod hinan arariod efel leviaje zavulat averen.
Nyneave grabs a cleaver to help her parents when she hears,
The way back will come but once.
Though she obviously wants to stay, Nyneave flees into the arch and returns to the present, leaving behind her ties to the past. We're never told what Nyneave's father's name is, but we are told that her mother's name is Elnor. We see that Nyneave still has the wound she suffered in the arch. Liandrin pours water out of a white pitcher over her and says,
You are washed clean of your sins, and the sins committed against you. You come to us pure, in heart and soul.
As Liana heals her, Nyneave asks if what just happened was real. Liana confesses that no one really knows. Entering the second arch, Nyneave is once more in the 2 rivers. This time it is the present day, and she finds many people are sick. Nyneave sees one of the sick people is Tam al'Thor, and that he has these pustules all over his body. Tam tells Nyneave that the sickness came right after she left. She sees bloodthorn root near his bed and realizes that Tam has been intentionally poisoned. We learn that Matt's mother, Natty Coughlin, is now the village wisdom, and Nyneave criticizing her for using the wrong herbs. Natty snaps back that Nyneave abandoned them and that giving the sick a painless death is all she can do. When asked why they didn't reach out to the Aes Sedai for help, Natty says that they made an appeal to the White Tower months ago with no reply. Nyneave is then told,
This isn't your home anymore.
Nyneave tries to use the One Power to heal Tam, even following the movements to do so. Either because of her block or being in the arches, she fails to do so. Tam asks her to stay with him and asks how Rand is. Still thinking he is dead, Nyneave lies and tells Tam that his son is happy. Once again we hear,
The way back, good call, but wise.
Nyneave runs into the arches to get help, with Tam calling after her to stay, leaving behind her responsibilities to the present. Back in the White Tower, Nyneave is doused again with water from a black pitcher this time. Before Liane can finish her phrase, Nyneave yells about the plague in the Two Rivers and that they must go there immediately. But Liandrin tells her,
Every woman's fears are her own property. Do not burden us with them.
You are washed clean of your sins and the sins committed against you.
in case you're wondering, this plague wasn't real, just part of her test. Unlike the other two arches, we see nothing but blackness when Nyneave enters the third one. We see Nyneave in a red dress and wearing a great serpent ring with a red gem, implying that she will join the Red Aja. We hear Lan's voice and Nyneave screaming. There are several other quick flashes of Nyneave and Lan before she stumbles out of the arch. Her shift and hands are covered in blood. Nyneave is also horrified to find she is holding Lan's Hadori. Shurian pours water out of a black and white swirled pitcher this time with the old Aes Sedai symbol on it. Liane looks Nyneave over and we learn that none of the blood is hers since she isn't injured. Nyneave can't remember what happened and demands to be told what she was made to do. The three Aes Sedai have no answers to give, but instead offer her a great serpent ring without a colored gem. Nyneave rejects the ring and tells the women that she is leaving the tower. After saying goodbye to Egwene, we see Nyneave on the road back to the Two Rivers. Lan gallantly rides in, and the two run to embrace each other. Lan tells Nyneave that as soon as he heard she was going to the Arches, he immediately set out for Tar Valon. Nyneave confesses that she failed the test and that she is going back to the Two Rivers. Lan asks to come with her as he is no longer bound to Moraine, and we hear,
The way back, good call, but wise.
This time, however, Nyneave doesn't seem to hear it, and the way back vanishes. She tells Lan she is confused about something but can't remember what. The feeling passes, and Nyneave is happy being with Lan. If you haven't figured it out already, Nyneave never left the Arch. We cut back to the Arches with the three Aes Sedai seeing the last arch close. Liane keeps her composure the best, but still glares at Liandrin as she leaves. Shurian condemns Liandrin and herself for getting Nyneave killed. When she is alone, Liandrin shatters the pitcher she was holding and screams in rage. At Autumn's Mill, one of the gagged women inspects the women of the town. Women that can channel are called Damane by the Sanshan, which means leashed one in the old tongue. The collar around their necks is a type of terangriel that is called an Adam. They are controlled by other women called Suldam, which means leash holder. The Suldam wear bracers that are also part of the Adam, connecting to the collar part by the One Power. This Damane, looking at the crowd, is of lighter skin and hair than the others, telling us that she is most likely a woman that was collared from the Westlands. The Damane points at a few of the women of the town and are immediately seized by the Sanshan soldiers. She is likely pointing out the women who can channel, as she would be able to sense this. Alwyn tells everyone they have forgotten their allegiance to the High King and his heir Luther. However, his descendants have returned to reclaim the empire. If the people swear the oath, as they put it, they will be welcomed into the Sanchan Empire. Alwyn is a slave, or dakoval, as the Sanchan refer to them, meaning those who are property. However, because she is the personal dakoval of a noblewoman, she holds the rank of sujin. This puts her above other slaves and even free common people. Alwyn speaks on Surath's behalf, for the noblewoman would not lower herself to address commoners herself. She will make gestures with her fingers to issue orders that the soldiers recognize. When asked who will swear the oath first, Uno is selected after glaring at one of the soldiers. Uno refuses like only he can.
Thank you, and your oaths.
The soldiers then impale Uno's head onto a tusk on Surath's plinth. You deserved a better end, you magnificent bastard. The people of the town all bow, followed by Perrin and his group after being told to comply by Ingtar. They then all swear the oath. We come back to Chiron to find Logain admiring his ring. Logain was of Gildan nobility before he had all his lands and titles stripped from him after he declared himself the Dragon Reborn. No doubt he is reflecting on all things that have been taken from him. Logain decides to take things by the horns and tells Rand he knows that Rand is here to ask him something. The false dragon confesses that he remembers seeing Rand at Tar Valon and that he laughed because
I knew you'd shake the world. Caged as I was, I couldn't help laughing.
Logain seeing Rand and laughing is straight from the book, for a talent that Logain has is the ability to perceive ta'veren, though Mat was not with Rand at that time in the book. Rand then asks how to channel, but Logain refuses to help unless Rand brings him a bottle of wine from his homeland. No easy thing to do. While walking back, Rand passes a man entertaining the people with the announcement that a great hunt for the Horn of Valir has been called. This man is wearing a multicolored cloak to identify him as a Gleeman. Unlike Tom Merrilin, he has his colors on the outside of his cloak. Rand meets up with Selene and explains that the Horn of Valir can supposedly summon an army of the dead. She also informs Rand that the Queen of Chiron has offered half her fortune to whomever finds the horn. Rand asks Selene where he can get the wine that Logain asked for. She leads him away, telling him,
To find you a better coat.
Egwene and Elaine enter Nynaeve's room to find Shiriam boxing up Nynaeve's belongings. Shiriam informs the two girls that Nynaeve went into the Arches to be tested but did not come out. Egwene wants to go to the Arches and rescue Nynaeve, but is told that, unfortunately, her friend is gone for good. Elaine tries to comfort Egwene, but she screams for Elaine to leave, no doubt feeling guilty about what she said the night before. Mat awakens to find Liandrin in his cell. She confesses to feeling remorse about the loss of someone she respected, then tells Mat he is free to leave. Mat suspects some sort of deception, but Liandrin then tears into the young man about how he abandoned his friends and is worthless. She also tells him that Egwene is nearby and could use a friend. However, Liandrin doubts Mat would be any comfort to her. That evening in Chiron, Rand now finds himself at a dinner or banquet of the Chiron nobility. Selene, no doubt, found him the red and gold trimmed coat he is wearing. It's worth noting that red and gold were the colors of the previous dragon. Selene gives Rand a sealed note that is an invitation to dinner from one of the ladies in attendance. We see this woman is a dwarf, and I thought this was an interesting detail, for no mention of anyone having dwarfism is ever mentioned in the books, to the best of my knowledge. If this is an attempt to catch some of the magic of Game of Thrones had with Peter Dinklage, I wouldn't be surprised. After Selene leaves to try to find the bottle of wine Rand needs, he is approached by a noblewoman that cautions him that the nobility are gossiping about him. No matter how he replies to the dinner invitation, rumors will be flying. The city of Chiron is renowned for the political intrigues between its noble houses in a game of houses, known as Des Demar. which means the great game in the old tongue. Rand tries to escape notice by tossing the invitation into a nearby brazier. However, the noblewoman informs him that this will have the houses gossiping even more. The elderly woman correctly guesses that Rand is from the Foregate and that he must find this display of decadence appalling considering the conditions outside the city walls. Rand mentions the reward for the Horn of Valir, but the woman tells him that the reward is just a ruse. Many people came to Chiron as refugees during and after the Aiel War. With nowhere to go, they have since taken over the outside of the city. Unable to forcibly remove them for fear of a revolt, the queen is using a reward that she will never have to pay to get the people to leave on their own, knowing most will die. Selene snatches Rand away from the conversation and gives Rand the bottle of wine he so desperately wants. Rand rushes back to Logain with the wine. The false dragon doesn't even bother to drink it, confessing that he never expected Rand to actually succeed. He tells Rand that the urge to channel will consume him and that he won't teach Rand anything unless Rand frees him. Thinking Logain is already mad, Rand leaves. Back at Tar Valon, Mat follows Liandrin's directions and finds Egwene crying in a garden. For a moment it seems he will go to her, but he chickens out and leaves without being seen. Mat calls Min over to his cell so that she can see the doors open. Min wants to immediately leave, but Mat hesitates. He confesses he is lost and has no idea where he should go, no doubt still reeling from Liandrin's words and his failure with Egwene. Min isn't going to wait for him to make up his mind and escapes. Mat eventually follows. Somewhere in Toman's head, Perrin awakens in the back of a prison wagon to find Ishamael waiting for him. We learn that the caravan is on its way to Falm, where the main force of Seanchan are. Ishamael tells Perrin he knows that there is a monster inside of him that will eventually consume the young man. We hear the sounds of howling wolves and Ishamael exits the wagon. Elias then bursts through the door with blood running from his mouth. After freeing Perrin from his shackles, we see a Seanchan soldier on the ground with his throat torn out. Perrin wants to free the others, but Elias only came for him and orders Perrin to follow one of the wolves into the woods. Min prepares a couple of horses she, quote-unquote, liberated, while Mat comes with supplies he no doubt also, quote-unquote, liberated. Min leaves to get one last thing before they go. She enters another room and finds Liandrin waiting for her. We learn that the escape was part of a plan Liandrin created and that Min has been working with her all along. When Rand returns to his room, things start to get hot between him and Selene, for Rand inadvertently channels fire into the room and it spreads to the entire inn. See what I did there? Huh? Egwene disobeys the rules and enters the Arch's chamber. She channels into the Arches trying to save Nyneave. Elaine tells her that many have tried this, but none have succeeded in over 3,000 years. Egwene is undaunted at first, even knowing that being at the Arches can get her thrown out of the White Tower. Elaine makes the point that Nyneave would not want Egwene to be expelled and ruin her life. The two decide to stay the night to help Egwene with her grief. Inside the Arches, Nyneave has been living a happy life in the Two Rivers. A number of years have no doubt passed, for Lan and Nyneave now have a daughter named Elnor Jr., no doubt after Nyneave's mother. Mat and Perrin are also there, both seeming to be happy and flourishing by the look of Mat's clothes. Nyneave receives a letter from Egwene, who is now in Aes Sedai, that Trollocs have invaded the borderlands. Later that night, Trollocs break down the front door, and Nyneave takes her daughter down into the cellar. She tells Elnor to stay in the cellar as she grabs a weapon to help fight. After coming back up, Nyneave surprises a second Trolloc and kills him. She then sees the Trollocs have killed Mat and his left eye is gone. Another Trolloc kills Perrin by throwing an axe into his chest. Spoiler warning, the way they died is telling. Lan is overpowered by 3 Trollocs and also killed. Nyneave screams in grief and is able to use the one power to kill all the Trollocs. And before you ask, no, this should not be possible. While crying over Lan's body, Nyneave suddenly sees that Elnor has been watching all of this. The girl points at something behind Nyneave and sees the arches. More Trollocs approach from the burning wreckage of the village. Nyneave snatches up her daughter and runs for the arch, thinking this will save her. However, when Nyneave exits the arches, her daughter has vanished from her arms. She screams again at the loss, awakening Egwene and Elaine. Egwene immediately runs to her and holds her up in her grief, trading places for the first time in their lives. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Broken Wheel. If you enjoyed this content, consider leaving a like or a comment below. Thank you all for watching, and as always, may you go in the light.